Maryland's defense will be a top 25 unit in the country.
You are Locked On Terps, your daily podcast on the Maryland Terps, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
What's up, everyone? I'm Tre Moore, host of Locked On Terps, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. So thank you for making us part of your day. And today's episode is brought to you by Ultimate GM. Ultimate College Football Head Coach is a brand new mobile game that is completely free and has no ads and is 100% playable offline. Use promo code LOCKEDONCollegeFootball, all caps, inside the game store to receive a free boost to your program. Begin your coaching legacy today. So I think that the Terps will have a top 25 unit in terms of the defensive side of the ball. And I think that the Terps need a top 25 unit on the defensive side of the ball as well. When I look at this team, the strength is on the defensive side of the ball. It just is. And there's some really good players on the offense side of the ball, but in terms of position group for position group, in terms of the depth, in terms of where I think we can excel, in my opinion, it's all about the defensive side of the ball for the Terps. And the more and more I go through our roster and the defensive depth chart, I really believe that it can be a top 25 unit under Coach Williams, our defensive coordinator, who every single year has improved our defense and has allowed it to reach new heights. Similar to our team under Coach Loxley, every year we seem to improve our record. Same thing with our defense. Every single year, the defense does improve. That doesn't mean I don't have question marks, but I believe in some of the talent in the position groups, and I believe in how well we've recruited for our defense to step up and play at a high level and play at a top 25 level on defense. For one, I believe in Coach Williams, similar to what I kind of just said, but I really believe that Coach Williams is going to be a really good head coach one day somewhere. I don't know when that's going to happen. I don't know when he's going to get that opportunity, but I believe that Coach Williams is going to be a good head coach, and I believe that somebody is going to pick him up soon to be their head coach. He might have to work his way up in terms of head coaching jobs and those types of things, but I think he's going to get a head job soon because of how good he's done on the defensive side of the ball. So I'm betting on him to allow this defense to allow this defense to progress, to continue to get better. And I believe he's a perfect defensive coordinator. And I think he's one of the better defensive coordinators in the Big Ten. So he's reason number one, I believe our defense can be a top 25 unit. I think his scheme has been good. I think he's done a really good job improving the players in terms of player development. And I think that we've gotten our defense into a really good spot. And I can't wait to see what he continues to do. But I do believe that he could potentially get a head coaching job soon. But I trust him and I believe in him allowing this defense to be a top 25 unit because I've seen him do it at a really high level over the last couple of years for Maryland football. I've seen him improve the defense. The second thing is, I love the personnel on most of the defense, and I really believe that at a couple of levels, we have really high-level players at each level of our defense. So I really do believe that the personnel is good enough. You can have a great head coach or you can have a great defensive coordinator, and all that is going to be good. But at the end of the day, you're going to have some pretty good players on your defensive side of the ball and to be a top 25 unit in the country. And I really do think that the Terps have that. I think they have a couple of guys up front. I think they have guys in the linebacker room. I think we have guys in the safety room, which I'll talk about a lot. But I think we have players at all parts of the football team. And I think it's constructed the right way. And I mean, to start, it starts with the defensive line for me. Almost everybody's back on that defensive line for the Terps, which allows me to feel like our defensive line should be really elite for Maryland football. I think that it should be a really good unit this year for the Terps. I think it should be disruptive on quarterbacks. I think we should be able to stop the run. I think we have a really strong defensive line. We didn't really lose anybody up front. in terms of the interior rush, in terms of the edge rushers, I do really like the Maryland unit that we have. And I think when you look at the top defenses, usually year in and year out, when you look at a Georgia will always have a top defense. Bama seems like they'll always have a top defense. The Clemson days, they always seem to have a really good defense. And a lot of people think, oh, they had Trevor Lawrence and oh, they had Deshaun Watson and whatever. But those teams always had really good players up front. Like I love the Clemson example because think about it. Yeah, they had Trevor Lawrence. Yeah, they had T. Higgins at a point. Yeah, they had some really good players. But a lot of it was because they had Dexter Lawrence, who's an all-pro for the New York Giants. They had Christian Wilkins up front, who's a really good player as well. And then they had other guys on the edge like Clean Farrell, who is also an NFL player. That's a solid NFL guy. They had really good guys up front. Look at Bama over the last couple of years. They had Will Anderson. They had Dallas Turner. They had really good players up front. That allows you to excel. And yeah, they had good players on the rest of their defense. I'm not saying that. But a lot of which allows you to have a top defense, it starts in that foundation, in the trenches on your defensive line. That is going to be some of the most important part of your football team. And I think that Maryland football's got that. I think we have one of our best defensive lines that I've seen in a while. I love our two inside guys. I think Jordan Phillips is one of the best run stoppers potentially in the Big Ten. He looked awesome in the spring game a while back now. I think he's going to be an all Big Ten type of player. Tommy Akingba-Sote has been there a while, was a highly rated recruit. And then I think Tajay Johnson backing them up is also a good look. And then I love our edges. I love Quayshawn Fuller. I think he's going to put it all together. I love Donnell Brown out there. I love the edge. I love the edges. I love the defensive tackles. I love Kellen Wyatt as well. All returning guys that played a big role last year. And so I look at it and I say, when you have guys that were already good players, but you get them back for another year, that's when they take the next step. And that's when I believe they'll take the next step to allow the Terps to enter a top 25 type of defense in the country. And then we also have, you look at every group, they're still good, really good players. At our linebacker room, Ruben Hippolyte was third team All Big Ten last year. He's going to be an All Big Ten type of guy again. And then I like Caleb Wheatland in that room as well. And I think we have a bunch of young guys that are going to be really good players as well for Maryland football up front. I think we have some young guys that are really going to play at a high level that I really like Michael Harris, who is a 4-star. He's a sophomore now. He's a guy that could step up. And so I like it on our defensive line, and I like it in our linebacker room. And then our safety room, I'm going to talk about more later, so I won't talk about it enough. But two guys in Dante Trader and Glendon Miller that have an NFL type of future back there in our back end. So you look at our linebacker group, you look at our defensive line group, we really like. We look at our safety group, we really like. And I start to say, I really like this Maryland defense to be a top 25 unit. The only thing that potentially could hold them back is the corner room. I talked about it yesterday. It's kind of a boom or bust type of room. But Jalen Husky is a really high-level player. I don't think I've given him enough credit just because he hasn't played in the Big Ten, because he's playing it at Bowling Green. But Jalen Husky could be next in line to be the next really good corner for Maryland football. And then Perry Fisher as well has the size and length. And if Perry Fisher doesn't work out, we have other guys like Braden Lee, who's a 4-star player, like Lionel Whitaker, who's played a lot for Maryland football. We have other guys that I feel like we'll find somebody in that room that's going to play at a high level. But Perry Fisher sounded like he's going to be a dude with his length and how we've seen him play in the Music City Bowl game. And his tools and potential are really high level. So that's the one position group that I say could hold us back, is that corner room. But I do really like Jalen Husky, transfer from Bowling Green. I really like Perry Fisher's tools. And I think it'll come together to allow Maryland to kind of get to a top 25 unit in the country. Obviously, that's not going to be easy. Obviously, that's not a given. But I do think Maryland has the players to be able to reach that kind of potential. I do think that we can be that good as a defense under Coach Williams. And I believe him as a coach. I really do believe that he is going to get us there. Cameron Edge really should have a shot at winning this quarterback battle. We'll talk about that after this ad from Ibotta. Sandals, sunscreen, snacks for their kids. What do these have in common? You're probably buying a ton again this summer, but don't stress about the cost. Use Ibotta and get cash back on all of your purchases when you stock up on all your summer essentials. Ibotta is a free app that lets you earn cash back every time you shop. Earn on hundreds of items from groceries to beauty supplies and even toys, so you can make sure you're beating inflation no matter what you're purchasing. The average Ibotta user earns $256 per year. That could cover the cost of an entire shopping trip, the flight that you've been eyeing, the fancy dinner you've been craving. So right now, Ibotta is offering our listeners $5 just to try Ibotta by using the code LOCKEDONCollege when you register. Just go to App Store or Google Play Store and download the free Ibotta app to start earning cash back and use code LOCKEDONCollege. That's IBOTTA in the Google Play or Apple Store and use code LOCKEDONCollege. So Cameron Edge has reportedly played pretty good in terms of practice in the scrimmages for Maryland football. And there's a couple of clips of him online, and I think he deserves to be a real option in this quarterback room. And I do think he's in the conversation for a couple different reasons. Now, naming Cameron Edge the starter would be quite interesting, and it's still probably the least likely thing to happen. But in terms of his potential and what he can do with these receivers, it might be the best out of all three of the quarterbacks. I think in terms of Cameron Edge, throw for throw, in terms of accuracy down the field, in terms of his deep ball, in terms of the short game, in terms of those different things, Cameron Edge probably has the highest ceiling. Like I say, I think he's the closest one out of those three to Talia, and I don't want to compare them to Talia. I don't want to be like, yeah, these guys are close to Talia or whatever. But what I'm saying by that is I just think that Cameron Edge, in terms of the offense that we can run, in terms of plays that we can run, in terms of the play style that Cameron Edge brings, I think it's quite close to what Talia brought in terms of he's not going to be a huge runner outside, creating stuff outside the pocket a lot. He's going to be more of a pocket guy. He's just going to make the throws. He's going to be able to make accurate throws and get our receivers, who arguably are the best part of our football team, the ball. And I think there's a lot of benefit to that. I see him more of as a guy that kind of just manages the game. And I see Billy Edwards as completely opposite quarterback. I see him as more of a running guy, more of a guy that you're going to run more running plays. You're going to run more quarterback run game. You're going to have different things like that in the offense. And then MJ Morris is somewhere in between those two. But I do think that Cameron Edge could potentially have the highest ceiling in terms of our offense, just because I believe where the strength of our team is. And it's not like he's slow. It's not like he can't move. I heard he dropped like 10 or 20 pounds around there to be able to move better. But I do think that he has a real shot to win this. I also heard that he's played really well in the scrimmages. You saw the deep ball he had in practice on Instagram, the Caden Prather. He has the best deep ball out of anybody on this quarterback room, I believe. And so when I look at his deep ball as well, when I think about him being able to stretch the field, remember in the Music City Bowl game, he had a beautiful pass to Caden Prather down the field against Auburn. And I think of Cam Edge, and I'm like, okay, we have Ty Felton, Caden Prather, Octavian Smith out there, Dylan Wade, Preston Howard at tight end, Shalik Knotts in the receiver room. I want to be able to stretch the ball down the field. I want to be able to throw the ball deep. And I think when I look at Cameron Edge, I think he can do that at the highest level. And I think that could really provide us with some oomph in our offense. I see an offense under Billy Edwards, which could be interesting, but I can see it drying up fast when teams start to game plan for us. And then MJ Morris, can he be consistent enough as a passer? We like MJ Morris more of a passer than we like Billy Edwards, But is he as good of a passer, natural passer as Cameron Edge? I don't know. I'm not saying Cameron Edge is the number one guy. He's still the least likely guy to probably win this job. But when I really start to think about it, I'm like, dang, okay, Cameron Edge deserves a seat at the table when we talk about this. And I don't know if it's kind of just a guy that he's like not really in it, but he's like kind of in it to Coach Loxley, but he's going to tell him he is. But I think he really should be in this conversation. Plus, another benefit is he's the youngest guy in this room. And whoever's not named the starter, there's a really strong chance that two of those guys potentially transfer out of Maryland and leave. I think that's a real possibility for whoever's not the starter. The other two guys might be gone, especially with Malik Washington coming in, 4-star quarterback out of Archbishop Spalding, coming in behind, who's supposed to be the next big thing for Maryland football. Two of those guys could transfer out. So I look at Cameron Edge and I'm saying he's the youngest option, which would be weird because if he starts and has a good year, it could bring up some weird kind of structure with in terms of Malik Washington coming in. But still, if it's similar, you play the young guy. And I don't know exactly how it's going at practice, but I do think that Cameron Edge provides a really good opportunity in that quarterback room for Maryland football to play at a pretty high level. And so, like, I'm really starting to believe that Cameron Edge should be the quarterback for Maryland football. And is also, I don't know if this is really a thing, but this is kind of how I see it in my head is I've been saying it. Coach Loxley's got to name a quarterback soon. He has to. I think we're running out of time. I think we're getting close to the end of it, and I'm ready for a quarterback to be named. And I guess it's not up to me, but I see every other school seemingly is naming their starting quarterback. Like I said, Dylan Raiola just got named the starter. South Carolina just got named their starter. There's a bunch of schools naming their starting quarterback. I keep getting the reports on Twitter and stuff. And so I'm like, okay, maybe Coach Loxley would have had who the starter is in his mind, or he was ready to announce it somewhere around here, but maybe Cameron Edge is making it harder for him to announce it just because of how high the level Cameron Edge is playing. I think that could potentially be a thing. It could be like, okay, I was ready to name MJ Morris the starter, and I really like MJ's game, but maybe Cameron Edge is playing at a really high level, so he's not quite ready to. Or same thing with Billy Edwards. Maybe he's ready to name Billy Edwards, but Cameron Edge is playing too good. I think that's an interesting part of it that no one's really going to think about, but maybe that could potentially be a thing for this, not delay, because it's kind of expected for it to be run this long, but I think it's time to name the starter. I really have no idea who it's going to be. I actually have no idea, so I think it's going to be really interesting, but I think that Cameron Edge is a really good option in that room. Maryland has an NFL safety unit on their defense. I'll talk about that after this ad. Hey, Locked on Terps fans, I want to take a moment to give you a heads up on the brand new mobile game that I think you're going to love as much as I do. Ultimate College Football Head Coach. It is an amazing game and simulation. You get to step into the shoes of a head coach and lead your college football program to glory. You can imagine actually being the head coach of the Maryland Terrapins, and you can recruit players, you can hire coaching staff to oversee training camps, and handling school scholarships. You control every crucial detail of your program. It's all in your hands. You'll be able to handle the pressure. It is completely free and has no ads and is 100% playable offline. You can play on the go as you want and when you want to. I was playing on the car ride to the beach last week, and it's a really cool game. And of course, we have a special offer for you, for your Locked On Terps fans. Use promo code LOCKEDONCFB in all caps inside the game store to receive a boost to your program. Make sure you take advantage of this perk as it will get your team off to a strong start. Download the game. Just visit ultimate-cfb.com or look it up on the Apple Store. Ultimate College Football Head Coach. Begin your coaching legacy today. Maryland's got an NFL safety duo back there on their defense. Glendon Miller and Dante Trader are two NFL guys in the back end of our defense. And people don't know about Glendon Miller yet, but I think he has a chance to really put himself in position to get drafted. Coach Loxley even said it himself that Glendon Miller is going to be a guy that plays on Sundays one day. I love when they say that he's going to play on Sundays one days. I love when they talk about college football players like that. But I love this safety duo for Maryland football. Glendon Miller and Dante Trader are two guys that are going to play on Sundays, and I think they're both going to be all Big Ten selections if they're not snubbed, if some weird things don't happen. I think that they're going to be all Big Ten types of guys for Maryland football. I thought Dante had an all Big Ten year last year, but he didn't get recognized for it. But I think that Dante is one of the best returning safeties in the Big Ten. We saw it last year. He had a really solid year. I thought he played his best game against Ohio State, which I really like because he was playing well against those really talented receivers that were some of the best some of the best you're going to see. And so I think he has a chance to be an all Big Ten safety. And 2 interceptions last year, 7 pass deflections. That's a pretty good number for Dante Trader, but he's a preseason 4-team all Big Ten guy, according to A. Holton Sports preseason. He's 4-team all Big Ten. Phil Steele's preseason 4-team all Big Ten. So he's a guy that is looking to be an all Big Ten type of safety for Maryland football. And there's some good safeties in this conference, so I won't be lying to you. The name that instantly is in my head is Caleb Downs of Ohio State. But I do think that Dante Trader is going to hold his own. I think he just was on the Shrine Bowl watch list as well, which is a pretty big deal. But I think Dante Trader had a really solid year last year, and I'm ready to see if he can take another step this year. And then Glendon Miller, people haven't seen him play safety yet for Maryland football. We've seen clips of it. We've seen nips of it, but we haven't seen him have a full season in the back end and the safety spot because he had to play nickel last year. But that shows his versatility, and that's why I love Glendon Miller as an NFL player and as a college player. He played nickel the entire year and did it at a really high level for Maryland football. It's not easy to play nickel. It's not. That's not an easy thing to do as a safety, and some safeties can handle it. Some guys can do it, but he was truly disruptive because of his length as a player and what he was able to do. He was just all over the place a lot of different times at playing nickel, but we really like his game. He started almost every single game last year. He was second on the team with 4 interceptions last year. 4 interceptions for Glendon Miller. Playing every down at safety, I think it's going to allow him to even reach a new level in terms of interceptions. Well, I don't want to say new level in terms of interceptions because, to be honest, 4 interceptions is not an easy repeat, but I think he'll be able to get somewhere around there 3 or 4 interceptions, playing every snap next to Dante, and I think they complement each other well. I like Glendon because he's going to be able to come up. He's going to be able to play the nickel if we need him to. He'll be able to come back. He'll be able to cover. He's been able to do these different things, and his 6'4" length is truly special, and it really separates him as a player. And then Dante has a really nice range to him. He's been playing at a really high level for the last couple of years. I really like this NFL safety duo for the Terps. I think it's an important backbone of our defense that's really going to lead us this year. And I really do believe they're probably the strongest part of our team in our defense. I love the defensive line. I love the receiver room. I like Roman Hemi in the running back room, but you could definitely make an argument this is the best part of our team, and they have to play well if we want to make our mark this year in the Big Ten, if we want to get off to the start that we want to, if we want to end the season, if we want to get an upset against USC. They're going to be important in the back end. If we want to have any chance to compete in that Oregon game, they're going to have to play well in that back end. They might have to bail out our corner room, and that leadership there is going to be important because you got to remember that corner room is young. That cornerback room is inexperienced. We need guys back there that know what they're doing, maybe can bail them out, can really help in terms of the communication. That's going to be key, but we can't have any coverage bust back there. We can't have any poor safety play because that will drop our potential as a defense. That'll drop our defense overall. But that's all we have for today. Thank you for listening to Locked on Terps. Make sure you like and subscribe. We're here every day talking Maryland football and basketball. So thank you for listening to Locked on Terps.